All right, it's a pretty basic question, but I'd love from the group and or from on high. Um, I'd love to be more effective at my follow-up with leads. And so I think I'm pretty good. I'm pretty quick within a few days. So I let them get back to their home base, and then I follow up. But I'm just curious what people do in terms of mix of email / phone call, how often, what's working, what's not working. Because I admit I'm doing okay, but I feel like these folks seem jazzed up, but it's not the numbers I'd love. So that's just going to put that out there for general response.
Yeah, so I'll jump in and answer that from my perspective, and then I'll open it up and let anyone else who'd like to share from their perspective as well. So number one, I like to get depending upon the conference itself. So for example, well, the event, maybe not conference. So let's say, for example, it's a 3-day conference, and I speak on day one. I'm not sending emails until like the day they get home, right? So I'm
Same here.
putting, so yeah, so one, just kind of getting a sense of where they are. So that's number one. Number two, one of the important things to know about how conference leads work is that in a perfect world, these are the people who go, I want to book you to speak in 2 months for an event that I'm planning. Now, oftentimes what people are doing is that they're indicating that they want to book you to speak, but either A, they don't have a conference coming up in the next 6 months, or they have an event but they already have a speaker. So your goal is to kind of figure out, where are they in that? Are they, I immediately need you and I have an event coming up, I would like to have you one day, so keep me on your radar. Or were they part of those people that I consider uh, they were overtaken by the magic that is Steve Hughes, and they were just like, sure, if that, like, because maybe you'll reach out to me and I can continue my relationship with you because I just love what you did on the stage, right? So typically I do a 5 email sequence, and after the 5th email, they just get put on a kind of monthly newsletter kind of thing, right? So it's first email, which is basically, hey, thanks so much for saying that you wanted to book me to speak. Let's get something on your calendar. Second email goes to that first email, hits reply, and then I go, hey, just wanted to make sure you got my email. Let me know when is a good time to talk. Third email is, sure, you're super busy, would hate to bother you. Sent you 2 messages. Let me know when's a good time. Fourth email is, I'm starting to feel like I'm bugging you, and I would hate to ever bug you. Let me know if you'd like to meet now or sometime in the future. And then the 5th email is kind of like the breakup email, as they call it in the biz. I go, hey, sent 4 messages to you. Typically, when I send 4 messages to people and they don't respond, either A, they're super duper busy, and they actually want to connect with me, or B, they actually don't want to talk to me and they feel very uncomfortable, and they hope that if I stop emailing them, they'll like disappear. So if it's A, let me know, but I'm not going to reach out to you again. If it's B, all good, I'll stop reaching out, and have a great life, basically. So that's kind of the email sequence I do. If I don't get a response on the 5th email, I just assume not interested, not right timing, and I move on with my life. And then I'll do random check-ins through. So those emails are done like personally, like it's like Arel emailing them. And then after that, they go into the newsletter where they have an unsubscribe link, so they can unsubscribe if they so choose from hearing from me, or stay involved.
I'm
And
curious, but
typically
what's your
my
timing on that, if you don't mind me, on those five? Like, what's
every
the?
2 days,
Okay, okay,
every
gotcha.
2 days. Yeah. So if it's a Friday, I'll send the next one on a Monday, right? So I won't email people typically on the weekends because I'm not going to respond on the weekend, and I don't want them to respond on the weekend. So yeah, I typically do that every 2 days. Um, and if they don't respond like within 10 days of seeing me speak, I just go, okay, tis tis life, right? But what will happen, and it has happened to me so many times I can't even count, is that someone will say, oh my gosh, Arel, I heard you speak 2 years ago. I want to book you now. Or, oh my gosh, Arel, like you were at this conference, right? So I always think of it as the long game. Like there are people who respond now, and then there are people who respond later, and there's people who unsubscribe. Those are like the 3 choices. So like either one is fine with me personally.
Thank you.
But I'd love to open it up to anyone else. That's what I do. Of course, everyone else can have different strategies. So if anyone else would like to solve, I'd love to hear that.
So by the way, I just would say one of the suggestions you have on the site is the ABC email. Hey, was it A? Was it B? Was it C in terms of interest? So your first one's kind of shorter and tighter on the
First one's super short. Yeah, first one's super short. And I'm always, by the way, I'm always testing new things, right? I don't like to share like, hey, this is what I'm doing until I've got like some data behind it to go, it's working. I'm trying a different approach right now. So at first I was doing ABC and I was getting a response, and then it kind of slowed a little. So I'm trying a different one, which is literally, hey, thanks. I saw that I can find it and give you the actual one I'm trying, but I haven't I don't know if it's a winner yet, but it's super short. It's, hey, Arel Moody here. You saw me speak at the conference. You said you wanted to speak. When's a good time to talk? Here's my calendar link, or let me know if you have a calendar link. Like 2 sentences, right? So I go, here's mine if you just want to jump on, or here's give me yours and I'll jump on yours. I tend to find that the calendar link is very weird for people. It's really helpful for me because you could just jump on my calendar and we're good. But some people feel like you're kind of like, you're not giving them the white glove service. Like some people like to go back and forth, I've observed. They want to go, hey, I'm available Tuesday at 3. Does that work for you? No, that's not. And I've noticed, and I can't articulate this with data in any way, but it feels like sometimes like when you just give them the link, it's kind of like, pew, like go over there and schedule. And some people might get offended. So I'm testing if the calendar link works because it's way easier for me if they just jump on my calendar or if they send me theirs and I can jump on there. So I'll let you know. I think somebody was going to say something and we cut him off. Was someone going to respond to Steve?
I was just saying that I use your method. This is Jamin. And so I was just saying that I use your method. And then I wanted to give you a time for not using my testimonial from yesterday on your social media link, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, any other follow-up? And oh, by the way, I do email only, and I don't do phone call typically. Now, some people might do phone call. I just don't do phone call because my belief is if I send 5 emails and they don't respond, maybe they'll respond on a phone call, maybe they won't. But that's just what we do. I'm sure other people might use phone, but we don't. I don't.
If you wouldn't mind responding, there's an interesting chat going by other people asking questions. I'm curious on the chat thing, but I guess other folks.
Oh, what is that?
Let me look here.
By the time the conference ends,
if someone unsubscribes, can you still? Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they've unsubscribed, you can't send someone a mass email if they've unsubscribed, but you can send an individual email. Like if I am Arel Moody and I want to send an email to Dr. Candy Campbell and I say, hey, Dr. Campbell, and it's like me sending an email to you, hey, just one if you want to talk, and she goes, no, leave me alone, then yeah, if I follow up, now I'm harassing her, like I'm a jerk. But if I want to, as an individual, send an email to an individual, there's no laws to my knowledge that says I'm not allowed to do that. If I'm using a mass service, that's where you can get into things. Now, here's what's also interesting. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving out legal advice in any shape, form, or fashion here. To my understanding, businesses are not protected by the same laws that individuals are protected by. So I can cold email a business and they're not under the same spam protection laws as an individual is. So if I'm emailing someone at their business email, my belief is that that's okay, way differently than if I'm emailing someone at their Gmail. So don't take that as legal advice. That's just something that was told to me. And I haven't confirmed if that's true or not.
Well, if I can jump in, I'll just say that at one of my National Speakers Association meetings, when an attorney was present, they said anything that somebody, they give you your information, but then if they unsubscribe, you can get reported. And now I'm not sure,
if you're sending mass emails, is that right? Or individual?
No, it's because it's their private information. So you don't want to tick anybody off. And, when I speak, last time I spoke to 600 people and I got hundreds of email people who wanted, or email addresses or text, that they wanted downloaded materials, and that was fine. But then by the time the conference was over and I was able to go in and follow up, most of them had unsubscribed. And
But for them to unsubscribe, you would have to have sent them emails already.
it was because they, honestly, I think it wasn't Talkadot. I was using a different service, but it was, one of those things where it was a thing where they signed up during the presentation and downloaded something, and they had to give me their information to download it.
Yeah, so I can't speak to that in any way, but to my knowledge, for me to unsubscribe, I have to actually click the unsubscribe button. So one of the things that's possible, and again, I don't know, so I can't speak to this at any like depth of knowledge, is if the first email they got was very generic sounding, typically people might go, they won't know if I'm gone, and click off. So I always like my first messages to be a little bit more human. So people know I'm like a real person, and like I've got blood and I breathe oxygen. But also I will say this, anyone that ever unsubscribes from my list, I'm always grateful for it because I pay per person on my email list. So if you're not interested in being on my list, please unsubscribe, because it makes it like I'd rather have 20 people who actually care about me than 2,000 people that don't, and I have to pay for them. So philosophical approach. Cool. If anyone has any other things that you're doing, please throw them in the chat. I'm going to move on to Andrea's question, but hopefully that's a little bit helpful, Steve. And also it's a philosophical thing, because the other thing that I'll add to it as well is if I speak at like a company, there's usually diamonds in the rough there. If I speak at a conference, that's where that's where the payload is. So if I'm at an association conference, like I'm speaking to a municipality state association in like 2 or 3 weeks in August, those leads are much more highly, like those are big deals for me. Whereas I'm speaking to a company and I'm speaking to their employees, and their employees might identify that they're leads. I think those are still leads. I still treat them the same, but I don't have the same like excitement level, because I'm like, they're employees within a company I'm already speaking to versus they're representatives of many, many different companies that could potentially bring me in. So the place in which you get the leads, in my opinion, also kind of determines how high quality they may or may not be. Ms. Ashcraft.
Yes, a couple of things to add to that conversation. So I know at least at my company, and for those of you who don't know, I do work 9 to 5 in addition to speaking on the side. And so for our company, we are extremely tight with anti-phishing. So we have been taught, we have contests, we have all different things to get us to never ever click on any link ever. So that may help as you're setting up calendar invites and different information there. When we're scheduling time with vendors, which we do on a daily basis, we typically will say, can you send us 3 dates and times that will work for you? And then we start to match up calendars. That can be something to think about, of if you don't want it to get caught in spam or go automatically to that anti-phishing folder, just providing in text those messages. Something that's really worked well for me in terms of getting a response is my subject line is follow up from whatever that event. So I'll say follow up from this, and then just like you said, have it be a very human email. It was great to connect with you. It's great to see you. If I have one, I'll put a picture in that email just to jog their memory too. And then in terms of my question, I sent a proposal recently for a half-day training and got an email back today saying we don't have the budget available for this year. However, we'll keep this proposal on hand for 2024 planning. How would you respond to that email? Would you follow up with any additional options, or would you just say, great, I'll touch base with you next year?
Yeah, so my follow-up in that particular case is always absolute. So I always affirm always first. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. Totally get it. Then I always say just out of curiosity. So if you want to know like the formula, it's always like, it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, like completely get where you're coming. Just out of curiosity, what budget were you hoping it was going to be, if you don't mind sharing? And then I leave it there. At that point, they'll go, we were looking for, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, because let's say you charge 7,500 and they're like, our budget's 5,000. Well, maybe you'll do it for 5,000. So maybe we're in the ball game. But if they're like I had someone reach out to me and they were like, oh, we want you to do like a 4-hour training and we pay $300 per hour. And we were like, that's not a good fit for us, right? So sometimes they're way off and it's just like, hey, it's not a good fit. And sometimes it's like, it's in the neighborhood, but they may not feel comfortable counter. Like sometimes people are comfortable and sometimes they're not. So I give them the space to say, tell me what it is. Now, in that particular case, there's a good percentage chance that they won't respond, or they'll just say, we went with a different vendor or whatever, especially if it's an RFP. Odds are with RFPs, requests for proposals, they probably have like 10, 12 bids. So sometimes they just choose whichever bid they think is like in their price range. So sometimes they don't respond, and that's okay. But I like to put everyone into a overall email newsletter, if you will, where I will reach out to people. I think this is like one of the most simple but often overlooked component of most speakers, is they think if it's a no now, it's not a yes tomorrow. And the only way it can be a yes tomorrow is if I stay top of mind. So maybe once a month, and I can honestly give myself advice and get better at this as well. It probably should be a higher frequency, but once a month, once a quarter, you just do a check-in email. Hey, just checking in, see if anything's changed. Here's some cool things, or here's an announcement of some cool things I'm doing. Let me know if this would be helpful to your organization. And again, if they unsubscribe, I just assume they would never buy. So they're doing me a favor. But most people actually like when you check in with them.
What was the word you used again? You said, absolutely, I agree with you. And then you used a new
Just
phrase.
curious.
Just curious.
Just curious. Mm-hmm. So it's always, absolutely. I always want to affirm that this goes back to something, I don't know if anyone's ever done Sandler sales training. I was very big into Sandler when I learned sales. I think it's one of the best sales programs in the world. And they have a concept called okay, not okay. And what they're basically saying is anytime you make someone feel not okay, their resistance is very high and they push away. Whenever you make someone feel okay, their resistance is down and they're more open to talk. So whenever someone makes a decision, it's always like, yeah, that's a smart decision. If I were in your shoes, I'd make the same decision. Absolutely. Make like whatever a positive, like you are okay with who you are. And then once you affirm them, 90% of the time, people's guards go down because they go, oh, they're agreeing with me. They're not getting into a fight. That's what my biggest fear was. Just out of curiosity. And then I ask the question that I actually want to ask. You get a higher response rate. You won't get 100%. You will get a higher response rate, and it's a more comfortable. It happens when you're talking to people. It happens via email. So it's always affirm and then just curious. Yeah. Was that helpful, Andrea? Cool. Thank you very much.
Very, yes.
Now you're making me rethink sending the calendar link because of what you just said. So maybe I'm going to test some other stuff and say, the only thing that I hate about like, here's 3 dates is like, if I send an email to like 10 people with 3 dates and then one person chooses it and then another person chooses it, I'm like, son of a double book, so, well, I'll figure it out. What's up, Daphne?
Hey everyone. Hey Arel. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much. So my question is, I am always amazed at how much information is in Talkadot. And I realize I'm not tapping into everything because there's the booking section for the leads, the referral section, and then there are the people who sign up for my list. And those are all different action steps for me for what to do after a speaking engagement. So my question is, if in the booking section, there are cold leads and warm leads, I mistakenly I think I was engaging with the cold leads like they were warm leads. So my question for you is, if someone is a cold lead, so they're not ready to book at this time, how do you suggest we approach them differently? I have your Talkadot emails, for example. How do we approach these cold leads differently than we would a hot lead?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I do. And again, there's 1,000 different ways to handle anything, right? So I can just tell you what I do. So everyone, whether they're cold, there's a service that I am using now, which is connected to something called Mailshake, I think it's what it's called. So it's a new service that I'm using. I'm actually hiring someone to do it just because it's too much for me to do. So what Mailshake does is it connects to your Gmail. So you give your permission to Gmail, and then you upload a list and send an email. The person receives an email as if it was sent from your individual account, but it does it in mass, right? Because technically what Mailshake is doing is sending it from your Gmail. They're just doing it like pew, 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 like that, right? So everyone, whether they're hot or cold, they get those emails, right? So I have my list, and if anybody wants to know the guy that I use, his name is Ron Story. I'm happy to make introductions if anybody wants an introduction. But I basically download my lead list. I send it to Ron now. Ron then has the emails, and we're constantly testing those emails. So everyone gets, whether they're cold, warm, or hot, they all get the same emails. And we now have which people responded and which people didn't respond, right? So a response is either yes, let's talk, or no, go jump off a bridge, which no one ever says, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like it's either positive or negative. If it's negative, we remove them from our list. If it's positive, then great, the conversation is moving forward. Then what we do is look for anyone who has not responded, who was a hot one. Then they, depending upon so what I'll do is I'll look at is it like the CEO of like the American Cancer Society? I'm like, yeah, I should probably follow up with that. Or was it like the school bus driver who said he was, so I kind of look at the individual. And you can do this, and I don't know if y'all are aware of this portion. Let me, so for the My Leads, you can press this drop down button right here, and you can kind of see the, what they said and who they are and that kind of stuff. So I also look for, just any kind of indication that the person is more interested. So if they're saying something like, oh my gosh, this was amazing, I'd love for this to be brought to my something like that, then I'm going to go ahead and maybe do an individual follow-up. And it's a case-by-case basis. But those are for the hot leads typically. For the cold leads, I typically go, if they didn't respond, then, maybe they will later.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. J-Man.
Hey, first of all, great session yesterday. Thanks for all that you did for us, pour into us. On today, my question is there a way when you click on send the report on a talk, so I have to do it live or I can't remember. So share report, and then I say download testimonials. It brings up the graphic, but it only picks like 2. Is there a way that we could do it where it would, I know probably if you had 600, you can't do that in one graphic, but you know what I mean? Like I'd like to be able to have more than just one included in that.
Yeah. So here's how the functionality of it currently works. So actually, let me use a different report. Let's use SUNY Startup School. So I did this presentation last week, right? So anything with I'm going to unstar these. What our system currently does is it takes the first few in the upper left-hand corner when you do download testimonials, right? Now, if it's a very long one, so for example, right now, if I put download testimonials, I've got 2 on here because they're kind of shorter, but maybe I would want 3. So what I would do is take these 3 shorter ones, 1, 2, 3. Now you see these are one-liners. They're a little bit shorter than these, which are like 2-liners. When I go to download testimonials, it'll have all 3 of them on it. So basically your functionality choices as of this moment is to star the ones that you want. However, if someone gives you a really long testimonial, let's see if I can get a long one. This will probably take 2 of them if I'm guessing. Yeah, it'll take 2. So it basically, if it's a very long testimonial, it'll only grab 1 because there's just not enough physical real estate. The smaller they are, you can get 2 to 3 typically on there. And then after that, you can go into the 3 dots and then go to download shareable testimonial and do 1 at a time. We are looking into, it's coming, but not like soon, but we are looking into creating like different grids options where you can like, you know, drag 5 or 6 or 7 into like kind of like one of those photo grids. For now, you can like download a bunch of these and throw them into, you know, a photo grid or something like that to give more, which again is a little bit clunky, but that's the star functionality is how you move. Let's go to this one here. So if I wanted to move these, you know, this one, and this one. So these 3 can easily, okay. Can you guys still see me?
Yes.
Okay. Oops, wrong one. Download testimonials. It'll throw 3 of short ones easily, 2 kind of longer ones, and if it's a very long one, let me see if I get a very long one. Maybe this one. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna unstar these. So this one is like a very long one. I imagine it'll only give me 1. Oh, it put 2 on there. Okay. So, you know, yeah, but that's basically how so you use the star functionality to move it to the top and then it grabs the first 1, 2, or 3.
That's really good. I didn't know about the star thing, and I didn't even actually know that I could download each individual one. So I just learned 2 new things. So
yes.
That's huge. I had no idea. And then also, did you recently change it? You know, the report that you just showed where it had all the graphs and everything. Did you guys recently change the formatting on that? The reason I ask is it was cutting off the title and putting it behind the bubble, and I was going to bring that up at this meeting, and it's fixed now. So I just wondered if you recently fixed it.
Yeah, we did have we are aware of that. There was something that was happening with the character count and the wrapping of it. So there was a little bug, and we did figure out. The funny thing about bugs is you got to figure out what's causing it, and sometimes it's very easy, and sometimes you're like, there's nothing, and then you find out there's this like comma somewhere it's not supposed to be in the line of code. So yes, that was an issue, and yes, we have fixed. So it should be fine now. If it's not, please let us know.
It looks good. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks, you, Jamie. Other questions?
Ralph, can you hear me?
What's up, doctor?
So on that last example that you gave with starring the testimonial, just 2 things. One is, what if you only star the first testimonials? And second, what if you star no testimonials? What comes up when you try to do the download?
Yeah, great question. So let me show you what happens. So if you don't, so automatically nothing is starred on your reports. So if you hit download testimonials, it'll grab the first 1, 2, or 3, right? Just basically whatever is this top one. If I star this one and then star like a smaller one, right? Like that one, and then hit share download testimonial. Oh, that one was too big. Yeah. So like, let me see if those 2 will do it. Download testimonial there. Yeah. So whichever ones I star, it'll bring the first 2 or 3 of those to the top. Okay. If you don't star any of them, it'll just grab automatically whatever is on the top left-hand corner. Now, just so you're aware, in case anyone doesn't know, we rank all of these in character count order, meaning the ones with the most words goes on the top. So what that means is this one has the most words. So that's why it's the first one that shows up. Now, typically, not always, typically, if they give you more words, it means that they really liked you. So we want to surface those, because at the bottom, amazing, inspiring, inspirational are great, but not really great testimonials. However, they could, like, I had someone who, I think if I go to the FSAE one, yeah, I think it was this one. This will be important to see. So I'm going to unstar these. I'm going to show you why I start a whole bunch of these. Because, okay. This person, so the very first one said, great job. I only have one criticism, which is that you use the word fascinating quite a bit. Other than that, it was a great keynote and memorable, right? So I use the word fascinating a lot, and I was like, oh, it's a crutch word of mine, right? So I was like, I don't want that to be the first testimonial that people see. So you can star things, and then you can see that it moves that a little, like this, great energy. If I unstar it, if I star others, it kind of moves it down just a little bit, right? So I can move it down to like that if I wanted to, and that's better. I'd rather some people read how awesome it is and then see the criticism versus criticism being the first thing. So that's how the star functionality works. And yeah, I think, did I answer your question? I kind of went deeply into that, but I want to make sure I gave just enough, but not too much.
Yep, you did. Thanks.
Okay, you got it, doctor. Great question. Other questions? I'll show you this while you're thinking of your questions. Just so everyone's aware, we made an update. So on your dashboard, when you want to create your slide, when you go to add another Talkadot code, this now looks different. The reason that it looks different is because we were getting a lot of questions about how do I create my slide, how does it work, and so on and so forth. So we kept asking ourselves, how do we make it simpler? So I just want to kind of walk you through this in case you're not familiar with the new update on here, and hopefully it's easier for you. And if it's not, like, you let us know and we'll try to make it better. So the first question we ask is, do you want to collect leads or contact information? So it's default to yes. So if you're speaking to a group where it's not appropriate for you to contact leads, maybe you're speaking at like Andrea's company and they're like, you can't collect information or something like that, you could turn that off, right? Then you create your short code. So, it could be like, king, or whatever it might be, like whatever's the word that you want to do. And then you describe what it is. And like, this is my handout for kings and queens of the fourth ward, right? Whatever you want to say. So the description is just for you, right? So king is the code. So now when I use this code king, the first thing it's telling our system is whenever the word king is used, don't collect information. Or if you leave it on, when king is used, collect information, right? Then this is the thing that I'm giving away. So I'll just grab like, whatever, this, okay. So now step 3 is giving this away. Now giveaways are optional. Okay. So this is very important. In the past, if you created a code like king, you had to give away something to your audience. Okay. The feedback that we got from users was, well, sometimes I don't have something I want to give away, or sometimes I'm not ready to give something away, but I don't want to use the code talk because talk is not like relevant to my brand or my messaging. So I'd rather use something else. So if you are doing a presentation and you want to give away a PDF, a video, anything that you would consider a lead magnet, you can upload it to step 3 or not upload it at all, right? Like, so if you use the code like king, but you don't upload anything here, then the system will still collect feedback. And at the end, instead of saying get your bonus, it'll just say thank you so much. That's all. Now, if you have a pro account, you can click on advanced features and you can change the emoji question. So, those 1 to 5 Likert scale where we ask, like, was it actionable, engaging, relevant, actionable, inspiring? You can change those here. So entertaining, practical, dynamic. Let's say you want to do that. So you can put that there. And then anytime you use the code king, it will say to our system, when this code is used, don't collect contact info, don't give anything away, use this feedback sequence. And if you want to add a custom qualitative question, why do you park in a driveway and drive on a Parkway, right? Whatever, you can put whatever custom question you want. And then when you hit create your code, what it's going to do is say whenever someone uses this code king, it remembers all of those settings. So if you're doing a particular presentation that you want done a certain way that's different than others, you can customize it and the code creates all of that customization for you. And then you can download it, set it and forget it, and you're good to go. If you ever wanted to add something later, you can just go to so if you go to King here, you can just click on edit and then upload, whatever is the thing that you wanted to upload, like if you want to do it later. So let's go with that one there and then hit save changes and then boom. So now the system is set up that when they use the code, they will get the thing. So it's just a way for you to create a little bit easier of a way to create slides, and it doesn't force you to give something away if that's not something that you want to do for your speaking business. So I wanted to make sure you had that update. And then Jamin, I'm going to go into your question.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering, we just recently used this for an event where they weren't people that were going to book us, but we still wanted their names as leads. So to have us come in there. But what we didn't want to do was have it specifically say, have them come into, would you like to see him speak again, et cetera. We wanted to change the wording on that. Is that coming in a future update?
Yeah, so we don't have, I know exactly what you're asking for. We don't have that functionality yet, but that is on the pipeline to build up. So you can collect names and emails, but not ask, do you want to book Jamin to speak? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. And I messed up. So I said I didn't want to do that. And so we got all the feedback, but I got no names. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Correct, yeah.
Luckily the event organizer is sending me the attendee list, so I'm able to still get them, but I screwed up there. Lesson learned, so.
Yeah, so that's something that we're looking to create a functionality for. So hopefully that will be available because right now we put it, well, if you're not collecting leads and contact info, because sometimes what happens is clients go, don't collect any information whatsoever. But
Right.
then there are use cases like that. So we will get your back, I promise you. Yeah. So David asked, does it still prompt for the email? And I have a client who will not allow me to collect emails, although optional. I'm not even allowed to present the option to give me stuff. Can that be turned off? That's a really great point, and we are working on that, David. So right now, the way the functionality of it works is that it still asks for it, but it doesn't store it. But we understand why that can be confusing. So we just have to create an interface where it just relinquishes that field. So that is on the pipeline, just not yet.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, cool. I saw a message come in. I think it was a private message. Okay. Any other questions that you have? This is for you.
Arel, are all these meetings available to us to look at afterwards?
They are. So we have a YouTube channel where we upload these as unlisted. So we will give you a link post. So we send out an email to everyone like, here's our AMA. We just don't post these publicly because some people might not want it shown publicly. But we do have a YouTube channel where you can get access to these afterwards. Yeah.
Okay,
so
great.
If you're a pro member, you can get all of the past trainings, all of the AMAs as well.
Excellent. What about the university training yesterday? I couldn't get there.
Yes, so that's one of the pro trainings, and there should be an email going out today to all of the pro users with the link to the replay.
Thank you so much. This has been such a useful tool for me, and I love your workshop. So thank you so much, Earl.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I just DM'd you the link in case you wanted to pull it up right now because you were so excited you just wanted to keep getting more of that vibe. But there'll be an email going out with all the replay stuff.
Okay, great.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'll say thank you. We don't have to stretch it out to the hour if we don't need to. So we're going to be doing these once a week. So if anything pops up, we're here for you to answer any questions that you have whatsoever. We want to see you do well. And thanks for joining our AMA this week. And any other questions, feel free to shoot an email, jump in, anything you want. We're here for you. I'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you, Dr. Lulu. Threw the camera on right at the end. I'll take it. Take care, y'all.
I'm sorry, I'm moving, so I didn't want to interrupt you, but thank you for my heart.
Awesome. Thank you so much, doctor. Take care.